Brad Evans, how has your day been? Because my day was so wild and so crazy. And I haven't even told you because some of this affects us. But so much so that I went Terramana tequila for our drink today because I was like, what is going to make me feel better for today's wacky day is Terramana tequila. I'll let people know why I just mentioned that, but I wanted to throw a nice tease out there for the listeners.
Sweet. Yeah, it's been about the same. I think we've had the same day, but mine's been all work related. I don't know what it is. And I thought everybody at my office was on vacation this week, it felt like. But then I think every ticket we got for the help desk was just wackiness, man. I don't know what people are doing today, but I don't know.
All right, so enough of my complaining here. I'll explain to the listeners. So those who are watching this does not affect you in any way. Those who are listening to this affects you, but probably in a positive way, though not necessarily in a positive way for Brad and I. In that we were partnered with a company called Blue Wire, who supplied the ads for our podcast feed. Now, we did not have enough downloads to actually monetize that, but the relationship was there just in case we were able to drive more listenership to reach the number of downloads to monetize the show. I had a relationship with them previously. I know the person who runs it. His name is Kevin Jones. I was talking to him about certain things process-wise very early in the stages of Blue Wire. So we had two networks, this one and the Fight Game Media Network. Those partnerships have been dissolved. So if you are listening to this on audio, you didn't hear any ads in the show. So positive for the listeners. Not really. It doesn't really change a whole lot for us. It does change a lot for the other podcast feed that I run. So that was why I was kind of anxiety, a little anxiety, is because of other things with that network. With this one, everything's going to be the same. You just won't have ads to listen to. I'm fine with that because we weren't getting paid for them anyways. It was kind of like a starter relationship. But yeah, so we if you won't hear ads, so you'll be happy. It'll be fine. I'm fine with that. We may have ads down in the future depending on other relationships that we create with other companies, but that was why my day was kind of wonky, because I was running around kind of figuring out what I'm going to do with the other podcast network and talking to hosts and shows and different things.
The old cliche, one door closes, another one will open. That's just, another opportunity will be out there. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with change at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you're forced to do things that you fundamentally probably should have done already, but hadn't. So, but it's just kind of the chaos of the organization being thrown out of whack that kind of caught me off guard today. But that's not why we're here, because we have a bunch of positive things to talk about here on this show. One being that tomorrow, so those listening on the audio feed later today for you, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be on the Bleacher Report app. Hopefully they will send us a link that we can share with the listeners before we go on air. And we are going to be on Bleacher Report talking the trade deadline for the Giants. We were on last week as kind of a test show, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that. There was some fun comments going. We were able to post some polls. That video is actually on our YouTube feed. If you want to watch that, we were able to download that and post it per Bleacher Report. So that was nice of them to allow us to do that. And tomorrow or later today, if you want to check us out live, definitely do so. And we're going to be talking trade deadline. So hopefully the Giants do more, or maybe we don't want them to do more. It's uncertain right now.
I'm torn, man. Honestly, I'm torn because I know we have some guys getting healthy and coming back shortly, but it's also painful to sit and watch everybody around you fighting for those wild card spots and the division, fighting for the division, 2 games behind the Dodgers. It's hard to watch everybody else make these moves, and then you kind of make a move that is not a lasting move, that it's
Mhm.
not a this is going to help us in October type of move. So still, I mean, we still have over a half a day left, man.
Yeah. So
Almost
when does that end
2 hours.
on Tuesday?
3 p.m. on
Okay.
Tuesday afternoon. 3 p.m. our time, Pacific
Okay.
time.
So by the time you and I record for Bleacher Report, the deadline will be over and we'll know everything that has happened.
Yeah.
But what if we only have this AJ Pollock thing to talk about?
Then
that's gonna be a long show.
I think we're gonna have to talk about at that point the reinforcements coming back from injuries and what our potential lineup with some reinforcements coming from AAA could look like. Yeah, I mean, we always find stuff to talk about. I don't think it's going to be a problem because I have been kind of looking at the lineups. I don't have anything solid yet, but I've been kind of playing with some lineups going forward if we don't make any moves from here on out. I mean, we're talking about a Giants team that's 10 games over 500 right now.
Yeah.
But they do have a tough schedule.
Leading the wild card, too.
Leading the wild card, but we do play the Braves quite a few times. Still have to play the Dodgers.
Yes.
Play the Diamondbacks for 4, right? Starting tonight, Monday night. So,
we are recording about an hour before that game starts. So the only thing that I've seen so far is the lineups. It looks like Junis is going to start, probably Alex Wood following Junis, and then no Luciano in the lineup, but Diaz is playing second base. They recently called Diaz up from AAA.
Good old Isan
Diaz. So let's just get this out of the way, and then we're going to talk about Luciano because if you listen to last week's show, we're like, hey, we want to see him get 500 ABs in AAA, and then he gets
that only lasted about 3 hours, I think, from the time we recorded that. So it was right after the game. So then we played that night against the A's, and right after the game, they go, hey, we're bringing up Luciano tomorrow. We go, what the heck? We just did this whole thing where we talked about him getting 500 at bats. Maybe even we won't see him till mid next season. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, man, that was crazy.
All right. So some of the moves that have been made. We'll start with the trade. And this is, you and I are watching like ESPN and The Athletic, their trade deadline columns. They're updating. They're updating in real time. And so we see the Giants and we're like, oh, Giants did something. Oh, the Giants are, they're best buds, the Seattle Mariners. And the trade is AJ Pollock and Mark Mathias for and cash. They also got cash.
Yeah.
So when you actually get cash in the deal, it's usually because you're taking on somebody else's problem.
Yes.
And the only thing that the Giants have to give up is the player to be named later, which who knows who that will be.
I don't think that guy's hitting that well this year.
No, that guy, that guy could be a quadruple A player.
Yeah.
That guy could be, someone who just keeps getting stuck between Eugene and San Jose. Who knows who that player is, but more than likely not someone of tremendous value. But you did a little bit of a deep dive on AJ's numbers this year, and they're not pretty.
They're not.
But you also looked at Mark Mathias. I don't know. I sort of saw Mark Mathias as like, oh, maybe they just couldn't get Matt Duffy. And they're just like, who's like Matt Duffy that we can trade for?
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think, there's going to be more for the Giants. And they may not be splashy. They may not be big names. But I think they're going to be players that are going to fill some spots. I think the Giants have a solid team. The way Kapler works the lineup, the way he works the pinch hitters, the platoons, everything else, bit players are kind of what fill the void. You look at what Bochy is dealing with. Bochy's dealing with a couple of $300 million players and the Texas Rangers and, this great all-star lineup. And they're only 2 games better than the Giants right now. The Giants are, scrapping together. Kapler's, I'll pinch hit Austin Slater. Oh, bomb. All right. Awesome. Moves happen and moves go good. Moves go bad. But either way, when you blame Kapler when something goes bad, you also have to give him credit when something goes good. And he made quite a bit of good moves this week, especially with the pitching staff. Tristan Beck coming in, Sean Manaea, Ross Stripling. Our co-starters have been doing a fantastic job the last 3 games. And that helps, that helps down the line. Do we get a couple more co-starters? It's possible. Do we get a Kyle Harrison to come up? It's possible. So I don't expect the Giants are going to be in on Justin Verlander. They're not going to be making that move. They don't want to take on that. That's a ridiculous contract. I was reading about that one today.
Just especially if he just pitches 140 innings next year, then he's got like another crazy year on it.
Then he'll be 43 years old, due for 35 million, I believe it is. He's 42 million next year, 35 if he hits 140 innings pitched. So it's not. The Giants aren't going to be in on that.
Verlander will be 43. I am in my near upper 40s, and I was at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk last weekend, and my youngest wanted to do the radar gun. And I can remember when I was a little kid, my dad did the radar gun, and he hadn't pitched in quite a long time, and he had some shoulder issues, but he still hit like 78 on the radar gun or something. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's the highest we've seen in weeks or something like that. And so JJ and I decided to throw on the radar gun, and I haven't thrown a baseball in a few years. Like it's been a while. And so I had to, this is how you know you're old, is when you get the 3 pitches and you're like, nope, give me 6, because I kind of need to warm up.
Still getting there.
I need to warm up my arm because I'm going to hurt myself. And so I throw 5 out of the 6 semi hard, but by the 6th pitch, I'd already spent all the gas on, and so I was like, okay, now it's time to rear back. And it wasn't even as hard as the pitch before. So it was rough times. No. And I just thought, gosh, how can these guys do that over 40? And I can barely pick up my right arm and heave the baseball, once every 3 years.
Well, and you can't tell us that story and not give us numbers.
Okay, so
come on.
That radar gun was light. It was way light. And I saw it because I saw some other people throw before.
Yeah.
And so my guess is that it was about 10 miles per hour off.
Wow.
And I think JJ and I were both in the low 50s. So even with it being 10 miles an hour off, it, because by the time I stopped playing baseball, and this is now a long time ago because I was 29 or 30 when I had last played.
That's about where I was too. Yeah.
I was throwing in the mid to high 70s. I had, the couple years before that, I was touching low 80s, but that was only having to come in for relief and throwing 1 inning.
Yeah.
And so you said, I'm in my upper 20s and I'm actually throwing harder than I was when I was younger. But then that 18, 19 years since then, it's not supposed to go down that far. You're supposed to be able to hold some of that, aren't you?
Maybe not. I don't know, man. I haven't done a radar gun in years, but don't they fudge it too? So you'll throw 2 pitches and you'll be like 52, 53, and you go, okay, I guess I'm going to throw 54, and then they dial it up and you go, oh, you threw 67. Wait a minute, man.
Yeah, so that was not fun. And not only was it not fun, but the pain that came with it in the next 2 days, it was like, if I hit 70, I could deal with that pain, right?
Sure.
But not even coming close. I was like, that was dumb. I'm never doing that again. What a regret that was.
That's a rough one. Because you don't want to do that and try to show the kid, look, I can throw. And then the next thing you know, a month later, you're getting rotator cuff surgery.
Well, he threw 1 mile per hour harder than me. So that was all he was trying to do.
That's it. Yeah.
And I feel it felt like I was throwing harder, but the radar gun did not agree with that. So. But back to Verlander.
Oh man.
The thing about Verlander, if you sign Verlander, you're essentially signing him for the playoff run, right? A team I'm trying to think of it like the Colorado Rockies. They're not going to throw 50 million at Justin Verlander because they're not going to get to the playoffs, and that's why you sign him and Scherzer. And Scherzer's now, like you said, with the Rangers. I almost feel because you said that contract is crazy, but
Yeah,
if the Giants are going to make the playoffs and you run out Verlander in Game 2 against the Dodgers, I kind of feel like the Dodgers are like, uh-oh. He's not even your ace. He's your number 2. Now, it doesn't only cost a lot of money to get him, but you're going to have to give up a prospect that you don't want to necessarily trade unless it's
correct.
somebody who's, unless you're getting a guy who is going to be lights out for you. So there's a lot of risk in this deal because of next year and possibly the year after. Now, you could theoretically sit him down at the end of the year, be like,
Yeah,
dude, like we have this young starter we want to bring in.
or you could talk to Cohen if you're going to make that deal with the Mets and say, look, man, you eat the majority of the 3rd year vesting option.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can make that happen too, but then you probably have to give more in terms of prospects if you do that.
Now, these pitchers who signed these deals with the Mets, there was leverage in their case. So I'm sure Verlander has a lot of say into where he's going to go. I heard Dodgers, but now I'm hearing Astros, and because he's got a relationship with that club, that maybe he's leaning Astros. So I don't even think the Giants are really in the running, but while I understand the risk, I'm also kind of like, man, I'd love Justin Verlander to start Game 2 of that wild card.
Yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic. And what I heard today too was that, since he does have the full no trade, so he can go anywhere he wants.
Yeah.
Um, actually leaning towards staying with the Mets. Mainly because he has a 4-year-old. He kind of got settled in New York. Do you want to pick up and move again, and then possibly again after that?
Yeah.
Say
Well,
he goes to the Giants and the Giants trade him next year. Now you're moving again.
Famous wife, Kate Upton.
Yeah. Probably does well in New York.
They're a bit of a power couple, so I'm sure, what she's got a lot of say in this situation as well. And he's had a good career, so he's got a World Series, he's got Cy Youngs, he's got multiple opportunities to show up, in big time baseball games. So maybe that's not as important as it is to him maybe before, the last time that this happened and he's able to get a World Series out of it or whatever. So that's I like the idea that he's out there because it just makes the trade deadline more interesting. Now, will he get traded?
Sure.
Who knows? Maybe he gets traded at the 11th hour of the deadline, but power to the player. He's got the leverage and he can sort of dictate where he's going to go. But man, if you're a Mets fan, you're like, how do we even explain to our children what is going on here? We're all signed in. We're about to pay Correa $350 million. Like, we're just so dialed in, Lindor last year or the year before, and now these two pitchers, and now we're just like, hey, we're just gonna do it again next year. Whoever's the top free agents, we're just gonna chase them next year. We're gonna do this all over again.
Well, for sure they're going to be in on Shohei, but Shohei is everybody is pretty much saying he wants to be a West Coast guy, so that's going to be difficult. It's going to be
what
Dodgers.
Does this look like to someone like Shohei, though?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks like they're shedding some money now to hopefully get me over there. So he'll entertain. I mean, he's going to entertain all offers.
Yeah, true.
Because that's the other thing too, is you're going to have a lot. I think Aaron Nola is a free agent next year. Marcus Stroman is a free agent who already pitched in New York. So there's going to be a lot of free agent pitching next year, but Shohei obviously is the big one. But I think you can almost completely rule out the East Coast. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. If the Mets or if the Yankees were to come in, does Shohei look at that and say, hey, I could be a Yankee legend if I go out there and just absolutely tear it up and keep doing what I'm doing. But I think he's a West Coast guy. I think he's going to stay on the West Coast. the Mets have already pretty much said, look, this is not a fire sale. We are retooling for next year. We want to win in 2024. So what we're doing right now is kind of getting a little bit younger. So there are going to be openings for them to sign pitchers. I think they have Kodai Senga is 5 years, first of a 5-year deal. But other than that, they don't really have anybody kind of locked up. Again, other than Verlander, but if they do move Verlander, they don't have to deal with that anymore. So yeah, I don't know. The Mets are a tough one. That's a weird one, man. They're kind of like the Padres, where the Padres fully stacked, fully yacked up and ready to go to possibly the World Series, and just kind of under 500 right now. But then looking at the numbers today, some things I had read, I was shocked that the Padres are third in the league in run differential, and which is amazing to me, that to think that they are, their record is so bad compared to being third in the league in run differential. But they're a dangerous team. I mean, they just swept the Rangers, and so you win 3 games in a row, and they're selling out, so people are still coming out to the stadium and watching them play. Could they also add some pieces today and tomorrow? It's possible. Could they move some pieces? They can move Juan Soto. They can move Blake Snell. They can move Josh Hader. These are guys that are going to be free agents next year. So I think they kind of have to decide, do we have the replacement parts for those guys right now? Can we continue doing what we're doing and possibly take a wild card spot? So that's, as a Giants fan, we look at all of this going on around us and we're thinking, we're not making a lot of moves right now. We may not make any moves. But that being said, everybody else around us may or may not also. So I think that will kind of kick in definitely the next few hours going into the night here tonight. I think we're going to get a better idea of how things are going to start to go down.
So back to Pollock. Mm-hmm. He's there to basically hit against lefties. Like that's why he's on the team.
Yeah. He's basically Mitch Haniger until Mitch Haniger comes back. And then we're probably going to see a DFA of AJ Pollock.
Okay, but what about defensively? Because this is not a team who has a true center fielder,
right?
Unless Bryce Johnson is in on the team, but he's been up and down all year long. This is somebody who is a center fielder. I just, you look at like defensive WAR, and he's been pretty average for the last few years. I just wonder if this was also like, hey, at least we are comfortable putting him into center field, and we can actually play Yastrzemski in right, and we can play Matos in left. So maybe this is not their top, he wasn't on the top of their list, but right. For what they could get, they wanted a body out there in center. And like you said, this is not something that is set in stone either, because they have so many different things that they can do with the roster because of how many rookies that they have. And Haniger's back, then yeah, maybe Pollock is out of there. But also when Yastrzemski gets hurt again with the same hammy injury for I think the third time this year, you kind of have to, prevent against that happening, right? So I understand the move, and I understand also why Giants fans are like, really? Let me give Giants fans one caveat here, one small hope, which is he did hit 14 home runs last year and 21 home runs the year before. He hasn't had almost any opportunities this year to really play. He's had 138 ABs. He's only played 49 games. So, change of scenery. He's only going to hit left-handed pitching. There's opportunity for him to actually do something and for Giants fans to get excited. It's just you're just not going to plug him in to play every single day. That's just not why they signed him.
No, definitely
or why
not.
They traded for him. Sorry,
definitely not. But we have seen Jock Peterson in left field.
Yes,
and we did not plan to see that this year, but we have seen it. Yeah, I know Jock Peterson's left-hander, AJ Pollock's a right-hander, but still, if you can get a better defensive fielder in left field and lose a little bit with the bat and make Jock your DH, good, let's do that. And so I think that's what Farhan saw. One thing I have fully learned as a baseball fan, as a Giants fan during the Farhan regime is you take things one day at a time. I think when you and I were younger, one thing we used to do is we used to plan, like you make a trade at the trade deadline. You go, this is our guy for the next 3 months. He's going to take us into the World Series and we're going to be awesome. And this is how it's going to work. With this regime, this is AJ Pollock. We just traded for AJ Pollock. He's here today. Is he here tomorrow? I don't know. Today is today.
Yeah.
This is what we need right now. In let's say a month when Haniger comes back, what if Matos is hurt? What if somebody else is hurt? Then you have that insurance policy in your back pocket. It's not $1 million insurance policy. It's it's like $500, but still, it's it's going to help you out in the long run because it is a body, like you said, it's somebody who can play the outfield. It's somebody who can make you better defensively, take away runs defensively versus having Jock out in left field.
Yeah.
It's pieces, it's bits, it's parts, and that's what Kapler, I think, works really well with. Is it a great move? No. Is it a great move for the Giants? Yeah, absolutely. It's a great move for the Giants. This is what they need right now. They need another person in the outfield. So that's what they went out and got. And it didn't cost them anything. So, and that's the big part of it too.
This year, he's not, he's just had such a small sample size. Very, very few at-bats this year to really make any conclusions. He's actually not hitting left-handed pitching at all this year. But historically, left-handed pitching, his batting average is 6 points higher, and his slugging is 70 points higher. His OPS is about 70 points higher. So historically, versus left-handed pitching, he's just a much better, as he should be, because he's a right-handed hitter, and that's kind of how it works. Is he going to be a difference maker in the Giants making a run at this? Well, probably not. But again, it's just sort of like, you're trying to win on the margins in some instances, and maybe this works. And if it doesn't, then no harm, no foul, and you just cut them and you find out, and it's I think the thing also that fans may be a little disinterested in is like, okay, does that mean he's going to take some at bats away from Matos? It's like maybe, but it's not like Matos is, he's not Joe DiMaggio right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if he does take at bats away from him, that's fine. Because again, Kapler can work those situations where he knows who can hit, who can do what in certain situations. And it's just another piece of the puzzle for him to kind of play with. Again, we're looking at a Giants team that if you looked at this Giants team on paper and you said this team is 10 games over 500, most people would say, false, you're lying to me. I'm looking at this lineup, and these are the guys you've run out there. I'm looking at this starting pitching staff, and I'm looking at these numbers, and this team is 10 games over 500. Absolutely false.
Absolutely false. What's it's funny because you look at stuff like slugging percentage, and you're like, gosh, who on the Giants is really killing it? And it's like nobody is really killing it. Everybody is sort of playing up to what you would expect them to play up to. Yeah. And you're kind of getting everyone's, like, nobody is really having a terrible season, but nobody's really having a great season either. It's like you're getting what you want out of these. I guess you could say Wilmer, Wilmer is hitting 300 with 13 bombs, and he's actually slugging the best. He's at a 532 slugging, but he also has, less at bats than someone like JD Davis. JD Davis is about 100 more at bats than Wilmer. So it's just funny because you got 10 games above 500. Somebody's got to be playing good, right? Nope. They're all just sort of playing how you would have expected them to play.
Yeah. I mean,
JD
look
Davis, we were talking about All-Star game, for him a few weeks ago, and he's down to 258 batting average. So, just everyone's just sort of playing to their ability. No one's playing above their head. Nobody's tanking it either.
Yeah, right. And as an example, Giants take 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. They win Saturday, they win Sunday. Just quickly, and we watch the games and we listen to the games and we know all about the games, but quickly, if you think in your head, what was one of the standout moments from each win? You'd really have to think, because it's just the little things. They all just kind of add up. They're little. Nobody went out there and hit 3 home runs in the game. Nobody went out there and drove in 7 runs. Nobody went out there and threw 9 innings and struck out 15 batters. That's not how the Giants are winning games. They're not winning with standout performances. They're winning by just doing the little things, turning the double plays, good defense to great defense, timely hitting, even though they're not scoring many runs, decent enough opener performances to go even into the 3rd inning. The other day, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Ryan Walker that went into the 3rd inning? Yeah, who went into the 3rd inning, handed the ball over to Sean Manaea, and then Manaea goes 4 2/3 and bridges the gap. Duvall gives up 2 runs to tie the game, but then JD Davis with the whole. So there's a moment. JD Davis with a solo home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. I mean, but you have to really look for those moments.
He held that bat there like he was Ricky Henderson too.
Did. I liked it. I liked it. And he had an excuse to hold it too, because he thought it was going to go foul. But then when he saw it hit the foul pole, he just did a little bat, not even a bat flip. It was more like a bat push. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. They're not running over opponents. They're not Ronald Acuna Jr. killing it with 20 plus home runs and 50 plus steals in Atlanta. So that's why when you see them get an AJ Pollock, you go, okay, he kind of fits the mold. He's going to have some moments. He's going to have his Cody Ross moments where something's going to happen, and he's going to win a ball game, or Pat Burrell. He's going to do something at some point where you go, oh, that was a nice play in left field. That saved 2 runs. That could have been a double in the corner, and that saved 2 runs. Could Jock have gotten to that? Probably not. Good move.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And we're not being homers by not hating this move. We just understand the Farhan way, I think, or we're more accepting of the Farhan way than we maybe were so a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and even that, I almost called it Twitter. If you go to X right now, it's Twitter. It's Twitter. It's Twitter. If you type in twitter.com, it takes you to Twitter. So or X, or whatever the heck you want to call it. If you go there right now and you look up the Giants official announcement of this deal, and if you read the comments, you would think we were out of this race. We are giving up. It's over. We're terrible. Worst move in the history of baseball. And that's why we just kind of look at it from a different perspective and just say, hey, they're winning ball games right now. The red hot Red Sox just came in and we took 2 out of 3. And now we're playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are right on our heels for 4 games. We're playing good baseball at the right time. So you just kind of have to look at it from that perspective, that AJ Pollock can help you.
Yes, and also what you have to take into account is they gave up nothing so far. So
exactly,
they have money to play with. If somebody wants to dump their player on the Giants can afford it, and that's sometimes how they add players. And who knows, Matt Duffy Part 2, maybe he's going to help them in some way. There was a great piece by Baggerly yesterday about Tristan Beck, and how Tristan Beck, he came over in the Mark Melancon trade from 4 years ago at the deadline. And so you're like, oh, this trade from 4 years ago pays off in 2023. And sometimes you have to look at things that way. And so they gave up nothing. They got 2 players. They add them in. Matthias is going to AAA, that doesn't mean that he can't come up at some point. I know he plays basically every infield position that is not shortstop, and he can also play both corner outfielders. So he's the perfect Zadie player. So there's no risk. These players, when you think about them in this way, they're just movable pieces, and they're not, if they don't cost you, and you can get rid of them or you can move them, and they don't cost the team anything. So that's how I see this move. Now, if this is the only thing that they do, then my eyebrows might be raised. So you may see a different version of me on the Bleacher Report show tomorrow if this is all that the Giants do. So
yeah, and we won't, like you said, too, we're not going to spin it positive just to spin it positive. We like to look at our team and say, hey, man, what can we do with this? What can we do going forward? There's moves where I'll look at and I'll say, that was trash. And I did really kind of think that at first when I saw the name AJ Pollock. I thought, oh, well, I mean, they're taking on an injured player with a huge contract, but maybe this Matthias kid is the real deal, and that's kind of what they were going for, because we've seen that before in Will Wilson when the Giants went and got him from the Angels. They took on a big contract. I think it was Zach Covert. Look at my memory.
Yeah, there you go.
Memory,
good one.
Just rattling names off. Look at me. Anyways, they took on Zach Covert's contract, dumped him right away, and then they ended up with Will Wilson. And then I looked a little bit more into Matthias, and no offense, Matthias, but he's 28 years old.
Yes.
40-man roster guy. He's in AAA now, and the Giants put him in Sacramento already. They announced that. So it wasn't necessarily for that. And so I thought, they're just going to dump Pollock. But no, it looks like they are going to end up using him. He's on a $7 million deal this year. So it's probably about 4.5 left. And again, it depends on the cash that they also got. They get 1 million, 2 million, whatever they got for it. He does have some bonuses. If he wins the MVP this year, it's not going to happen. He gets $150,000 bonus. So he didn't even bet on himself. I don't like that, man.
No,
he wins the World.
He's a restricted free agent after this year, so there is no risk, really.
There is no risk, and if he wins the World Series MVP this year, it's $100,000 bonus.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, $50,000 bonus for All-Star, original ballot, or a Gold Glove, or a Silver Slugger, or a League Championship MVP. And just 25,000 straight up for an All-Star selection. So, anyways, I don't think we're paying any of those.
Unfortunately for AJ, he had to get to 350 at bats to get a $500,000 bonus.
Yeah,
and it doesn't look like that's happening.
No, I mean he'd have to play every day, and they'd have to go into extras quite a bit.
All right, let's move on to our player of the week. It's back, because we've had some full weeks with the show, and give us your top 3, and then let us know who won.
Yeah. So we went with, and it was nice to be back for the player of the week. I always like that. And it looks like I'm the only one who voted for my pick. Now that I'm looking, I was going to look at the numbers. But coming in third, the guy I voted for, Sean Manaea, because I trash him so much on the show.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm giving this guy my vote because he really kept the Giants in the game on Saturday. Stellar performance, 4 2/3 innings pitched, only gave up 2 hits, didn't walk anybody. Control was there. 5 strikeouts in those 4 2/3 innings, kind of bridged the gap. Would have gotten the W if Duvall didn't cough it up in the 9th inning, which, the way Duvall has pitched this year, you can have a blown save every now and then. It happens. It happens to every closer, so no big deal. Coming in second, Alex Cobb. He had a nice start the other night. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. This was against the A's, I believe it was the second game against the A's. And he only got 19% of the vote, came in second. The winner in this week's player of the week has been on fire, just absolute fire. Wilmer Flores, 145 WRC plus, 333 average on the week, 1 home run, 3 runs, 3 ribs. Again, with the way the Giants offense has been going, it only took 1 home run and 3 RBI to get you player of the week. But nonetheless, Wilmer has been key. He had a 3-hit game the other night, just kind of keeps the line moving. Really good at bat. So congratulations, Wilmer Flores, 76.2% of the vote. Our Thompson to Clark player of the week.
Good for Wilmer, man.
Yeah.
Good for Wilmer.
He's that stalwart in the middle of the lineup. Just the dude, we love to watch him. Love his walk-up song. We're all Friends fans. We all watch Friends. So
I was I think it was Eric Karros. Is he the Fox color guy?
yeah.
He had a Wilmer comes up to the plate and Eric Karros is just like, yeah, he's just gonna pull everything. He's pull heavy. Like, yeah, he is pull heavy. That's why we love him.
Exactly, man. But don't make a mistake to Wilmer, because he's got that power and he'll take you out of the yard too. So,
all right, before we get to Brad's drink, because I already mentioned mine as a part of my my crazy day today.
Mine's almost gone, man.
Just a couple of things that happened during the week when we last talked. The Giants obviously recalled Luciano, or recalled. I guess they call it recalled, even though this is his first time,
because he's on the 40-man, so they call it a recalled. Yeah.
So he is now with the big team. Well, we'll talk about him a little bit more in a second, because I want Brad's thoughts on what he's seen so far. The Giants traded Yovera to Boston for Marcus Johnson, power forward for the Portland Trail Blazers. Not that Marcus Johnson. That Marcus Johnson was a beast. David VR sent back down. Brett Wisely optioned when Brandon Crawford came back, so we got B-Craw back. B-Craw is playing short today. Tristan Beck, we already mentioned him. This one hurts. Disco, 15-day injured list, right elbow flexor strain. I never liked that term. The right elbow flexor strain is not great. Isan Diaz came up. And John Brebbia went from the 15-day to the 60-day, but he's probably close to the end of that 60-day. And Yastrzemski also went on the 10-day. So I don't imagine Pollock is going to be in uniform today. But Seattle, where is Seattle playing today? Or where were they playing this weekend, I guess? I wonder how far he is away from.
I thought they played San Diego. No, where were they? Arizona.
Okay, so not that far away.
Not too far.
So maybe he is going to be. I guess they do have to do the whole physical piece of it and everything too.
Yeah, I don't know if they were in Arizona or in Seattle. So either way,
they're close enough. Yeah,
exactly.
2-hour flight here or there.
Yeah,
so
he'll definitely be ready tomorrow, I would imagine.
All right, so I don't imagine you're drinking the Terramana like me, but what are you drinking?
No, I went. I wanted a sipper. I wanted something cold. So I went with what you did last week. I did the Zevia ginger ale.
Yes.
And I was going to do the Trader Joe's, but I forgot to bring the bottle in. I went with the Elijah Craig single barrel, because every now and then I like to put a little something good. That was a gift, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before.
And you still have it.
And I still actually, I think it was this last Christmas.
Okay,
but I still have a half a bottle.
That's still impressive.
I have so many bottles though, so it's like I try to sip from each one.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to pick one and have that one too much. I like to kind of work it around. And that was, I believe, 47%, so like 94 proof. And it's good. Excellent. It kind of takes it up a notch a little bit, which is always kind of fun. You know, the Zevia with the bourbon, if you can kick it up a notch, you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's enjoyable. It's cold, awesome. And it's a sipper.
Yeah, I love that drink. After you introduced it, that's a go-to for sure.
It's good stuff.
By the way, those who are loyal listeners will remember when I mentioned that for my birthday that Crystal got me the whiskey subscription, or the Scotch subscription.
Yeah.
And so I got my second bottle. I was super excited and I opened it and I was like, wait, this is exactly the same as the first bottle. What's going on?
No way.
So she reached out to their customer service and she's like, hey, these are supposed to be different bottles. So now I will say, if it's the same bottle, not that big of a deal because it's like really, really good. But I was excited to learn more about something different that I wouldn't normally see, at the Bevmo or whatever.
That's what a sub service is
yeah.
about. I mean, you want to try different stuff.
So we'll see what happens there. If I have to return it, so be it. I'll be fine, and I'll be interested to see what comes next. And like you, I have a bunch of stuff, so it's not like I'm waiting, that I don't have anything while I'm waiting. But if for whatever reason it's just like this pain in the butt, it's a great bottle to keep, and I'll be totally happy to keep it. So it'll be all good. All right, let's kind of get into the stretch run of this show here. So the Giants, the last time we talked, they played the A's twice, beat the A's twice. They played the Red Sox 3 times, beat the Red Sox twice. Outside of one game, the second game of the A's series in which they won by 5 runs, every other game was a 1-run game. And it just felt like, is every game this, like, do all games go into extra innings? Like, what's going on?
Torture is back.
And winning these close games against not only the Red Sox, but also the A's could be helpful because the Giants have a little bit of a rough stretch coming on. Now, the D-backs aren't the D-backs from a couple of months ago. They've been struggling. Our buddy Shelvin, who listens to this show, but he's a big lots of engagement on We Want Winners. He's in Phoenix, and he's probably not. He's a much bigger 49er fan than he is a Diamondbacks fan, but he does follow the Diamondbacks, and he was just like, man, who's gonna have the worst month, Giants or the Diamondbacks? And then the Giants have won a few games, so they've turned it around, but the Diamondbacks have not. Now, I don't want them to because we see them for 4 games. So Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday afternoon. And then the Giants get a little bit of a reprieve with the A's, but it is in Oakland. And, there's a fervor around Oakland because of the team, and the fan base is fired up for home games. And, they want to let the city know that they're not a fan of, or not even the city, because they're okay with the city. They're just not okay with the franchise. So they'll play the A's twice, and then they go into Anaheim, and you get the Shohei Angels. So that's not the worst of the stretch. The worst of the stretch is coming. Like the rest of this month, the rest of August. We're not even in August yet. It's all of August is like death month. The only team that the Giants play that I would consider to be not good is the A's. Like, the Angels aren't world beaters, but they're a solid team. The Rangers, the Rays, the Braves, the Phillies are the Phillies, but they still have talent. And the Braves again,
they're fighting for a spot though.
Yeah,
the Phillies. So,
they're not the actually they were kind of not the butt kicker last year, and they still made it all the way to the World Series. So and then the Braves again, and then the Reds, who the Giants struggled against recently. So this is really a hard month. This is one of those months where you're like, man, if we could go 500, I'm kind of okay with it. And you're still in the mix more than likely. The Giants are currently 10 games over, like we said, and they are 1 game ahead of Miami and Milwaukee, 1.5 games ahead of Philly, 2 games ahead of Arizona, and then the Cubs and the Padres are a little bit behind. But there's 5 teams, within 2 games of the wild card of 3 spots. So this thing is going to go probably until the end of the season. If the Giants do not catch the Dodgers, which not that it's the Dodgers aren't playing great baseball right now either. So it's not like the Dodgers are out there and running away with this thing. No, not at all. The Giants are right there with the Dodgers. But I think most people probably expect the Dodgers to make a move to kind of run away a little bit more. But, if they don't, their Giants are going to be fighting them. But if they don't win the division, the wild card might even be more competitive. So if I'm the Giants, I just try and win that division. But who knows? We'll see what happens. But this is not going to be a great month for easy wins, I would say.
Yeah, we had to deal with the Dodgers a couple of years ago in the playoffs. If the Giants can avoid that in the first round, that would be nice. Instead of a 3 out of 5, it'd be nice to face them in the National League Championship Series 4 out of 7. Just kind of a nicer scenario for the Giants. I mean, the moves that the Dodgers have made so far have been, kind of small. You got Lance Lynn, you get Ahmad Rosario. Turns out the Giants were in on both of those guys. And they're not making any bank breaking moves. And that's probably because they're looking at Shohei. I mean, they're trying to, they cleared a lot of financial things. They didn't re-sign Justin Turner. They didn't re-sign Trey Turner.
Lance Lynn doesn't scare you.
No. The Giants tapped him around when they faced him earlier in the year. Ahmad Rosario doesn't scare me either. His defense should scare the Dodger fans. It's awful. So I mean, there's just so many things to look at across the board here that the Dodgers are making the same moves that the Giants have made so far with AJ Pollock in terms of like, well, we need this filled in, and we need this filled in, and color in that area, and color in that area. So that's kind of what both teams are doing. The Diamondbacks made a move for Paul Sewald today, the closer from Seattle, and so now they actually have a true closer. And again, the Padres haven't done anything yet, but they could stand pat and still go on a run. They won 5 in a row. They swept the Rangers, like we said earlier. So, I mean, this National League West is really, really tight. And the next, less than 24 hours are going to be a little bit crazy to see if does anybody kind of take a jump up on paper. Looking at the Giants schedule, like you were just talking about, this is going to be fun. August 11th, 12th, and 13th with Bochy and the Rangers coming into town. That's going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that one. Bochy getting welcomed back. And that's, again, another measuring stick for the Giants. Where are they? The Padres just swept them. Can we do the same? Can they come into San Francisco and we can beat them up? But they're gathering arms, man. They got Max Scherzer. Who else do they get? Jordan Montgomery, right, from the Cardinals. So they're just kind of loading up on arms. So that'll be interesting. They'll have a pretty decent pitching staff by the time they come in.
All right, let's talk about the player who, over the last few years, was the top prospect for the Giants. Got displaced by Kyle Harrison. Marco Luciano. He's been with the club for a week now. Not even a week. And his first AB comes up, first pitch fastball, 99 miles an hour. He's hacking, hits a laser out to right field that gets caught. Just didn't hit it high enough, or else it would have hit off of that big wall in right field.
Yeah.
I will say there is a joy that he has, even more so than Matos. Like Matos, I don't like Matos is a little bit more like kind of calm. But like Luciano cannot just not smile. Like his natural composition is just smiling. And so it's awesome to see somebody who's just like enjoying himself so much. And then you realize like, gosh, dude's only 21 years old. It's kind of crazy. And Matos is like, yeah, I forget what he said. Like he's like 2 months older than him or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to see. I do worry a little bit though, because like today he's not in the lineup. He's used to playing every day. I imagine he'll get an AB because there will be a left-handed pitcher who comes in and he'll hit. But what do you think about him so far? And also, they're a little rookie heavy, right? Like usually you're adding vets, but some of their better, like Patrick Bailey, like he's one of their 3 or 4 best regular day players, even if he's not hot at the plate. He's just so good defensively. Does this worry you when it comes to trying to catch the Dodgers? Or maybe these guys are like, we have no idea what it's like to go into LA. Like we're 21. Who gives a crap? Like what
Yeah.
is this legend and this lore of, playing the Dodgers? Like, what do you think about that whole thing?
Well, I mean, that could be part of where the AJ Pollock move came from. You get a 15-year vet in AJ Pollock. No, 15. More like 11, I think 11 years. An 11-year vet in AJ Pollock. And then, rumor is the Giants are looking at Tommy Edman today. That's been flying
Oh,
around a little
that
bit.
was one that we threw out there the other day.
Yeah, so Tommy Edman is a possibility too. That's another guy who's been around for a little while. I like it. It is a little bit nerve-wracking to have when you get to that part of the lineup and you're looking at 4 or 5 rookies in a
Yeah.
row, especially when Sable's in there and you're like, man, we go through this. But we've seen it. We've seen sparks and flashes from these guys. It doesn't seem like any of these rookies that are up right now are phased. Luciano has a couple of hits. He does have 5 strikeouts in 11 at bats so far this season. That's not ideal. He's got to really cut that down. One of the at bats, the other day I was watching, kind of got screwed on a couple of curveballs that were called strikes that were like I don't know, 4 or 5 inches off the plate. But I'm excited. I like the excitement that he shows. I like when a rookie can come up like this and show that, hey man, I'm not afraid. Like you said too, you go into Dodger Stadium and go, I'll take this on. I don't care. This is why I'm here. I'm here to play baseball. I've played baseball all my life. And like we said, we've talked about it all the time. Feels like he's been in the organization for years, and we've been talking. Yeah, he's been in the organization for 6 years.
He's like 16, 15 years old.
Yeah, so we started talking about him in 2017. I mean, that's how long,
crazy.
3 years before the pandemic, the BP before pandemic. So when we look at a guy like that come up now, we go, well, he's been around for a while. He's been playing baseball for a while. He is going to have his struggles. Bailey's going to have his struggles. Schmidt has gone through the struggles, but he's starting to hit the ball again. So it's exciting. I love the fact that we finally get one of our top 2 prospects up. When Kyle Harrison comes up, it's kind of going to feel a little like complete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, all these guys we've been talking about for the past at least 3 years are finally here, can contribute. They're going to get a lot of really important games under their belt going over the next couple of months. Then when you go into 2024, and a lot of these guys are in your starting lineup from day one, that's going to feel like the new generation is here. We are ready to go. Let's see what they can do with a full season. I like the move. I wasn't crazy about it when I first heard the next morning. I think I texted you when I saw it. And I was like, this smells like desperation. Like, we are not hitting the ball right now. So to bring Luciano up, it just kind of feels a little bit like desperation. But when you see that first at bat and that pop off of the bat that he has, the confidence he has playing shortstop, he's not afraid. He attacks the ball out there. It's great. I mean, it's really fun to watch. And if you can get an infield where you've got Crawford and Schmidt, and then you can mix it up with Luciano and Schmidt, that's good. That's good for what the team does in terms of the pitching philosophy of ground balls. And that's why this team is 10 games over 500, because they seem to be kind of making the right moves. Now looking at that being 10 games over 500, all that being said, do you look back at the 107 win season now and say, okay, not so much a fluke? Not that this is a 107 win team, but that same type of team that we had 2 years ago, now we have a team where we're 10 games over 500. And I know it's July 31st. As we're recording this, we're going into August 1st tomorrow. But looking at that, do you say, okay, I get Kapler. I get the moves. I get the platoons, and I get what Farhan is doing. And it seems to actually work better than I thought with a fluke 107 win season.
Yeah, no, I feel you. But here's my question. Let's say the Giants, now this didn't happen, but let's say the Giants signed Aaron Judge last year, and they added another big bat. Do you think Zaidi and Kapler would just have to fudge with the lineup? Like, would they, like, they're like, oh yeah, Aaron Judge, gosh, these last 2 weeks he's only hitting 247 against righty. We'll give him a day off and just set him up against the left. Like, I just wonder like if some of this is like, it's just because of the process. They have a process, they have an operation and how they do things. And sometimes, does it have to be so much like clockwork? Can we put a little bit of like feel into this thing? But like you said, it's working. And so, you also have to have players who are okay. Like I saw Ross Stripling. He's like, yeah, I would like to start, but I can't argue with the results. So I kind of have to accept what's going on. And he actually pitched very well the other day too. So good for him, because we've been waiting for him to throw well. And if you mentioned Manea, I felt the same way. Like we were joking in text. I was like, uh-oh, we have the opener and the closer, and now here's the opener ruiner, Sean Manea. But nope, then he throws like, 4 innings or almost 4 innings or whatever, does a really good job, then Stripling the next day. So this opener thing, I'm sure some casual fans are like, what the hell is this? I want to see the guy go 7 innings, but it's been working for them. And they've been able to make it work, even with someone like Disco being out, even with Alex Wood not being Alex Wood. So you kind of have to use him as this kind of innings eater, this bulk reliever kind of guy. And they really only have 2 starters. So there's also this idea that maybe they could add another starter so they don't have to use this bullpen thing, this opener thing so much. You can save it a little bit. But they've been able to make it work. Maybe Kyle Harrison is ready to come up at some time in the near future, and they do have 3 starters, but you cannot argue with the results so far. The only thing you can argue with is just, can we find a couple of guys who are going to be here for a little while? And that's the only thing that we had talked about early in the season. It's like, yeah, Conforto's great, but we know that if he doesn't play well, then we're going to have him next year. And if he does play well, then we're not going to have him. So, and he's actually kind of playing average. So we'll see what happens there as far as what they want to do or what he wants to do. But
yeah, it's all up to him. Yeah.
Just, the Shohei becomes the big conversation, and he becomes the game changer, not just because he's Shohei, but because all of a sudden people go, oh, we want to go play with that guy. That would even be the icing on the cake. But that's something that we have months and months and months to talk about. So
philosophies would have to completely change. That's the only thing that I look at. Like, look at Carlos Correa is hitting 228 with 12 home runs this year. As a Giants fan, we're so used to Kapler now at this point, we'd say, why is he being run out there? But then if you're paying the guy for 10 years, you don't have a choice. Yeah. I mean, this is your big money contract guy. You have to run him out there, and the Giants just aren't that. So I think by the time now we get to August, we're going to do the same thing next year. I guarantee you. I guarantee you in this offseason. We gave that guy a 2-year deal with an opt-out after 1. Who's gonna buy his jersey? What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
But then you're gonna get to August 1st, and you're gonna say, oh, Conforto, man. Conforto's coming up with the bases loaded. He could jack one out, no problem. You don't care. You just want to win ball games. You don't care how you do it or with who you do it. Whom? I don't know. Whom. Either way, you don't care. You just want to see the Giants win ball games and get to the playoffs.
Yes.
And so I think we're kind of learning that lesson as we go along here.
And it helps when you have a Matos and a Luciano on the big club, because then you go, okay, those guys are going to be here for a little while now. I hope they don't have to trade either of them, but there is that possibility. But you go back to the Conforto thing, and it sucks because Conforto's the guy going to be forever the example for us of a guy with the opt out.
Exactly.
It's going to be the Michael Conforto contract for the rest of our lives.
Pretty much.
Do you think now? I was looking at the Giants coaching roster. Do you know they have three? They technically have three hitting coaches. They have like a
Yes.
hitting coach, assistant hitting coach, and like a director of hitting. If all three of those gentlemen went up to Casey Schmidt and they were like, "Hey, this pitcher, first pitch is going to be a fastball. It's going to be around your eyeballs. Just take it. Like, even if it's a strike, we're fine. Just take this pitch because then you're going to be ahead in the count." And Casey's like, "All right, got this, coach." And he's going to have to swing because that's just who Casey Schmidt is.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being the hitting coach for someone who's so young and who just is so chase worthy, like Casey Schmidt. And I love Casey Schmidt. I hope that he becomes a hitter because he's got the, he kind of reminds me of like guys that you played against in high school where you were like, man, that guy's just too good. Like, why is he even out here? Like, he just has that look about him, and he's such a great arm. I just hope he hits a little bit because I want him to turn into something. But it just makes me laugh when I watch him hit. I'm just like, Casey, I'm talking to him, Casey. How about let's just take one?
Yeah,
let's take one. Get ahead in the count, and maybe they'll have to throw you a fastball. Nope.
Yeah, this guy's struggling with control. He's been struggling with control for the last 4 hitters. You're hitter number 5. He's not all of a sudden going to throw 3 strikes in a row. Give it a little bit of a break. To his credit, though, he did hold up on 2 pitches in key situations yesterday, and the umpire rung him up on both.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely brutal.
It's because that's his reputation. It was like,
yeah, well, he's going to swing at the next one anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. All right, so we'll be back next week on this show, but Tuesday, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, Bleacher Report app. Go into the app, search if you have the Giants as one of your favorite teams. I think you should see us, but we will link to it if we get the link before we start the live stream on social media. We'll send that on our Twitter. Check us out, Bleacher Report. We're going to give some love to this show, and hopefully more people can see what we do, including that guy Ricky and Bleacher Report.
Ricky.
He was getting mad at us because I kept screwing up the Luciano. I kept calling him Luciano, and he's like, doesn't even know how to pronounce it. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We've been calling him Lucky Luciano for 4 years. It's Luciano. So
but we love Ricky.
Yeah, we love
Ricky. Know what? The whole fun thing about Bleacher Report too, which is kind of cool, it's a little bit of a throwback to the old radio days when we used to host the show back at KSJS, and the listeners would take us on journeys. Like they would tell us what they want to talk about, which was a blast. I mean, that was always super fun. So that's kind of fun to get back to them.
Yeah, so check us out if you can, and if not, we'll see if we can actually throw that on YouTube like we did last time. So a lot of fun. Check us out. We'll see you next week. For Brad, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.